If you're an eyeshadow lover like me, I'm sure that you are a sucker for certain color stories, and that's what we're going to be talking about in this video, because I am looking at myself with the side eye right now, girl. Hey y'all, welcome to another video. Today we are going to be talking about eyeshadow palettes that have similar color stories. Did I not realize what was in my collection? Did I realize what was in my collection and I just didn't care? Was I worried about FOMO? I don't know, but I have all these palettes here and I'm gonna share them with you in case you struggle with the same thing. Today we're gonna be talking about 12 earthy, safari chic, desert eyeshadow color stories, and why you might not need to add any more to your collection. You might have some of these, you might not. Let's talk about them all. If that sounds good to you, keep watching this video. Let me know what you think, and definitely consider joining the community because I'd love to have you back. All right, let's get started. So how are you? I'm just dandy and I hope you are doing well. I just finished filming a video, and doing the video inspired me to film this one. If you're new here, my name is Kara. I am finding my way through my love-hate relationship with makeup. It's more love now though, but my collection is out of control, especially the eyeshadow palettes. So I definitely want to use what's in my collection, not just on my face, but also just use what I have to kind of talk about makeup in general, talking about color stories, talking about new launches and comparing them to what I already have. I hope you will stick around if this is the first time that you are seeing my face. Today we're going to be talking all about these earthy, desert, safari color stories, and 12 palettes that I have right here that I have purchased that shows me I don't need any more. And I actually just purchased one, which is what inspired this video. So without further ado, let's get into, it's not gonna be 12 palettes, it's gonna be 13, including the one that is on my eyes right now. This is the Lisa Eldridge Desert Gleam eyeshadow palette. And if I didn't say it already, let me know how you're doing in the comment section or the chat, whichever you prefer. Now this one just came out, I would say a couple weeks ago. And this is the most curated of the earthy color story palettes that I own. When I think about earthy color stories, I'm thinking about grungy greens, I'm thinking about terracottas, browns, those like burnt oranges, which is kind of like terracotta. And they also do include oftentimes some like light shimmers as well. And we see a really nice curation of the earthy tones in this palette. I love this right here, so nice. This isn't gonna be a swatch video. I do have a video up where I did this look, which I absolutely love. Why do I love it? Because this is probably one of my favorite color stories of all time, as you're about to see. All the palettes are not created equal. We've got big ones, we've got small ones, but this is gonna be the most curated, and I think Lisa Eldridge did a great job of taking the most important shades from an earthy color story and putting it into a 6-pan. But yeah, we're gonna get to a variety of palettes inside. So let's start with, which I think might be the first earthy color stories. And these aren't gonna go in order. They are in a way. I'm not sure when everything was released. I'm gonna start with Melt Cosmetics. I'm gonna start with the Gemini palette. Now this isn't the oldest palette that I have, I don't think. This might have been out of stock, and I remember getting this on a whim during the Sephora sale. They randomly had it at Sephora a few years ago, and I was like, yes, I'm gonna go ahead and get it. They since then redid the packaging and the embossings, but this is the original release. You see that we've got browns, we've got a black, we've got grungy greens, we have 2 shimmers. If you look at the Lisa Eldridge palette with this one, you can really make some similar looks. So I'm not saying that I didn't need well, I didn't need it, but y'all know what I'm saying. Like, I don't need all the stuff that I'm showing y'all, but I'm just letting you know that if you do have the Gemini palette and you saw the Lisa Eldridge one and you were like, oh my gosh, that is so nice, just go back and look in your collection, because sometimes you can scratch the itch with things that you already own. I know it's not the same as getting something new. Believe me, I struggle with it all the time. It is not the same. But if you pull it out and do a look, oftentimes I will feel like, okay, obviously I didn't do that when I ordered this. So just letting y'all know I didn't do that this time. But the Gemini palette, I believe, is still available. We get into some differences when we talk about eyeshadow formulas, because if you know about Melt Cosmetics, you will know that all of their palettes are not created equal, and sometimes their shimmers can be finicky. The mattes are usually pretty good, except for the next palette I'm going to talk about from Melt. But it's sometimes choosing a palette also comes with ease. There is a big price difference here. This 62, the price was 59 for this, but I mean, Melt has sales. They've been having sales, real sales, where they'll have their whole site for 50% off, things like that. So you can get this one for like $30, which I think is completely reasonable for the Gemini palette. The shimmers in here, there's only 2. They work fine, they're great. But again, that's not always the case. With the Lisa Eldridge, you've got a variety of formulas. There's a cream to powder in here. And I would say that sometimes compared to some of the indie shimmers, maybe these shimmers aren't gonna be as sparkly, as foiled, but it really just depends on your eyeshadow preference. So this might have a little bit more ease, and you might have to do a little more finesse with Melt. But the Gemini palette, no finesse needed with the Gemini palette. So let's go on to palette number 2, which is also by Melt. This one needs finesse. And this is the 420 palette. And I did finesse this palette by taking out 2 shades that were in here. One of them was a deep forest green. It was, I believe, it might have been Shattered. I can't remember. I don't remember what was in here. I'm gonna have to post a picture of the original 420 palette because I can't remember. But this is another very earthy color story, and I did put my own shimmers in here because sometimes the Melt shimmers just don't shim, and they make me very mad, very. And I'm not really sure why we can't get that part together, but that's neither here nor there. But these 2 palettes, 420 and Gemini, when I looked at my collection, I'm like, oh my gosh, I already had these earth tone palettes from the jump. And FOMO did not stop me from adding more to my collection. So let's go to the next one, which is from Sydney Grace. This is the Mountain Trail bundle, and I believe that this was a bundle of singles that they eventually put into a palette. Now this one has the grungy greens and like these like antique gold colors. If you know anything about Sydney Grace, the formula is perfect in my opinion. There's nothing that I would change about their shimmers or their mattes. This is a 9-pan, so you don't have as many choices as the 420 or the Gemini, but you have a little more to pick from than the Lisa Eldridge. I do feel like with this one, less is more as far as shades that you choose, because if you use too many, the looks are going to become very similar because there's only 9 shades. And I would say for my eyeshadow looks, I'm probably using between 2 and 4 shades. So I would stick with maybe like 2 to 3 shades. This one's really easy to do some one and dones. It's a very beautiful palette and a great formula. And I am still happy to have this one in my collection. Lately, I haven't really needed a whole lot of choice when it comes to choosing eyeshadows. I don't need like a big palette and have all these things to choose from. So next we're going to get into a palette from Clarity Cosmetics, and this is the one with the second wave. I don't know if there was a first wave, but what I'm calling in my makeup life, the second wave of the earthy palettes. This one came out first, and this is the Croc palette. This palette is fantastic, and the one thing I will say about Clarity Cosmetics, and I will swatch a couple of these, is that their shimmers are out of this world. They might be too much for some, and sometimes the mattes can be a little harder to work with. This is a pressed pigment palette, which means that the mattes may need a little bit more finesse. With this one, I like to use a very fluffy, diffused brush. Less is more, but I love this color story. I think this color story is really fabulous. This one is a little cooler, I would say, than the ones from Melt, but let's just look at a couple of shimmers just because they are really worth swatching. Let's Croc and Roll and Death Roll. And I'm only putting just a little bit on here, and you will see that they're just ridiculous. They are, in a good way, they are shimmers that you probably want well, there's a couple, not all of them. Some of them you'll want to spray. Not these two though. Look at that. I mean, no effort, no pressing down hard. If you are a shimmer girl or guy, Clarity Cosmetics, their shimmers are they're just really out of this world. And that's, I think, their specialty, although they have reformulated the mattes. This last one is Snapper. You see, that's a duochrome right there. So we're not really getting duochromes with Melt or Lisa or Sydney Grace. So that might make or break, you know, you choosing a color story. This one is Cold Blooded. Beautiful. It just depends on what you're looking for. Now this last one, Crocodile Tears, this is the one that's going to be flaky. This is the one that you're going to want to spray with something. This is the Lisa Eldridge palette, actually. So you can just see, I think, the difference. Okay, look at, show you. This shade right here, and then this shade right here. They're similar, but if you just look at it, look at my arm, just see how like galactic and foiled that one is versus this one. So it really just depends on your like eyeshadow aesthetic and your preferences. Like, are you an indie person that really likes those out of this world shimmers, or do you like something a little more subtle? This is also making me ask the question, are the Melt palettes still, in the Sydney Grace one, are they still relevant in today's makeup world? I don't know. I really like the Lisa Eldridge formula, but I think price point wise, it's a bit pricey, and I think you can get the same quality, which you'll see, for less. So the Melt pricing could be a lot more appealing, but I will say for that $420 palette, the reviews, like when I saw the reviews, I don't know anyone who did not have a hard time with that palette, and that was the first time where I had seen that anybody had trouble with the mattes from Melt. It always used to be the shimmers, but some of the mattes were just like blending away, and I had that same issue. But at the time, I was like, I don't have a color story like this. I really, really don't. That's where the issue was with that. As far as the Croc palette, some of those shimmers might be too much for some. I think they're all relevant in their own way. The next palette that I remember coming out is my baby right here. Look how dirty she is. And this is the Natasha Denona Yuka palette, and I think that out of all the earthy palettes, this one might be my favorite. I love that it has the coolness of the Croc palette. It definitely has the warmth that we find in Gemini and 420. It has some of those antique metallic shades that we're seeing in the Mountain Trail palette from Sydney Grace. This one has it all, and there's a cream to powder, which is my favorite. There's a cream to powder that is this color that I'm wearing right now in the Lisa Eldridge palette, and it feels just like this. And I love the cream to powder shadows. She doesn't seem to do them, she as in Tasha, doesn't seem to do them as much anymore, but I am really coming to appreciate those shades because they're so soft, but they're buildable, but they look really like diffused. So I don't feel like this is a very heavy eyeshadow look, and it allowed me to still do some color. It's almost muted. That's kind of my vibe. Now the shimmers in here, I can't remember if these were a different formula or upgraded formula, but I remember a lot of people in here love the shimmers in this palette. I'm just gonna swatch Plantasia and Elysian. So this one's Elysian and this one is Plantasia. And I remember a lot of people, that's a duochrome, a lot of people like the shimmers in this palette. These shimmers are reminding me somewhat of the shimmers in the Clarity palette, but just not as in your face. Really happy with this palette. Is one of my favorites from Natasha Denona. And then not long after that came the Okavango palette from Nomad Cosmetics. And this one is very, very similar to the Natasha Denona Yuka palette. I'm gonna hold them up. I'm sure there's almost a shade for shade match with both of these palettes. And I was gifted the Nomad palette. I thought this palette had a really beautiful package. I love the theming of it. It's soft. Nomad makes really good mattes. They've been upgrading their shimmers over time, so I didn't really have an issue with these shimmers, but I do think that the shimmers in the Natasha Denona palette are better. Some of them are, they're metallic, but they're not like, I don't know. They're not like the Natasha Denona ones. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not saying that they're not good. I prefer the ones from Natasha Denona a bit more. And there are some differences, like we've got this nice copper one here. That's really nice. This is a great palette. I have no issues, and I'm not even mad that I have this color story yet again. So we've talked about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we have the Lisa Eldridge, which is the 7th one. Next, let's talk about this palette. This one is from Fantasy Cosmetica, and I haven't even worn this palette. It's so sad. This is the Druid palette. I've definitely touched it. I've definitely swatched it. Now, this one is missing some of the orange, but we still have like these murky, foresty colors. We've got duochromes in here. Fantasy Cosmetica, I love this brand. I don't like everything that they come out with. I haven't purchased from them in a really long time, but I love that they do the more curated color stories. And for me, you know, looking at Mountain Trail from Sydney Grace, this one's just a lot more interesting, where I think that you can get more of a variety of looks. The looks can look different. With Mountain Trail, I think you're gonna get very similar looks, but with this one, we can have just a little mix of looks. So this is another really good one. Next, we're gonna talk about Barely Basic from Glaminatrix. And I just put this in the mix because I had in my mind the palettes I wanted to talk about. But when I thought about this one, I was like, wow, this one really does have some earthy tones, like these two columns here. And you also have the deep brown here. I love an organized layout. So you're going from the deepest shades up to the lightest shades, and you've got a foil shade and an iridescent shade, but it's these like murky colors and these warm colors here, where I'm like, wow, this is a very earthy, neutral palette. The other palette that I would say inspired this video is the Grounded palette that is also coming out from Glaminatrix. And I think if you're a neutral lover, the Barely Basic palette, which I do believe is restocking, is gonna be more up your alley. 1, because of the ease of use, but 2, you're not even just stuck with the earthy looks. You can just do some neutral looks. You can even do like a plummy look with this palette. These iridescents they're so pretty. I'm just gonna swatch a couple. Like some of them are like fiery. They're just really pretty. And then you do have your other duochrome metallic shades. I mean, there's so many to choose from, but these don't even matter. What makes the look is going to be the base, which are going to be these 12 shades here, what you do with that. And then the shimmers don't even matter. It's going to be a fire look no matter what you do. So I think Barely Basic, I love that because it's barely basic, but at the same time, it's barely basic. You know what I'm saying?
Can I get another burger?
Yeah, is there one out?
There's only one.
Get it. Because they're eating this food. All right, this next palette is going to be from Cosmic Brushes. This is the Undergrowth palette, and I did not get this palette at first for good reason. I knew I had several other palettes that had the earthy color story. I just could not help myself with this palette. 1, I think the palette was what, $36. Now I might have had to pay shipping like $14, but the price of it, I want to say, was still cheaper than the Glaminatrix than the Natasha Denona one. I'm not sure how much the Nomad one was because it was gifted to me. I really do like Cosmic brushes. Don't use their palettes a whole lot because I just haven't been doing a whole lot with eyeshadow, but the quality of this palette is great. Just looking at this one, I would put this one neck and neck with the Natasha Denona. It's got some really nice shades. Like, it has all the mattes that Natasha Denona has, I feel like, and then some. Like this one right here, I think Natasha Denona had one like this, but I always compare everything to Natasha Denona because that's my girl. But like, look at that, the foil on this. I mean, there's no effort in swatching. This shade Swamp is really nice. This kind of reminds me of one that's in the Clarity palette. I just do think that sometimes when you get into having 20 shades, this could be a lot for someone. However, this is a really curated palette. Like, there are no pops. There's nothing in here that's like, ooh, I don't know how to use that color. You know, you're either gonna go with a lighter look or you can use some of these deeper shades to smoke it out. I love the murky colors, the grungy greens. You got blend out shades, inner corner shades, if you wanna do a matte one or a shimmer one. I think this palette is very solid and was a great release for Cosmic brushes. But you know, for me, it's like I have to think it's something a great release for my collection, and I felt like it was. But we see that it wasn't. So next we have 3 more palettes to talk about. Now this next one, I wasn't even thinking about this one. This is the Stone and Rock palette from Odin's Eye. And the reason I don't think about this palette is because Odin's Eye makes me mad sometimes with their shimmers, with the hard panty shimmers. It's like upsetting to me. Look how beautiful this one is. This one's great. Like, look at this shade right here. It looks like I haven't even touched it. We're gonna touch it now. Ooh, look at that. That is so pretty. That shade is called Splendid. There's a black, but like, they get these like hard panty shine on here, and then sometimes it's hard to pick up this shade. I don't know if y'all can tell, but like, it's not really much going on here. Let's see how I swatch. Like, bye. Come on now. It makes me mad. I haven't bought anything from Odin's Eye since I bought this set. It was the Stone and Rock and the Jewels and Gems. I have not bought anything since because it's all because my palette from the Legendary Diversa collection, the Giant Wolves, one of my shades dried out, and then I tried to put tape on it and like just tear it off or remove the outer layer, and it took such a big chunk out. I threw the whole palette in the trash, and it made me mad because I really liked that palette a lot. Not that I was using it like that, but for memories. Hello, look at
I
that.
don't know where the buns are.
What?
The burger.
I sat the buns on the table.
Those are hot dog buns.
No, burger. Well, look on the counter. There's buns all over the place.
Hey, yo.
Go ahead. This is nice. That's nice. Now that one swatched fine, but some of them just get hard panty, and it just is upsetting. This is like one of my. Ooh, that's not even swatching like I needed to. The mattes are fine, but the shimmers, I don't know. The price isn't bad, but it's not. I just can't keep buying it. But I love, look at that. That's a really pretty color. So yeah. Oh, this is nice. Let's watch this one. Right here. I love that. I love that shade. But no more Odin's Eye for me. Like I said, this was my last purchase from them. Now all of those to me had a very pretty similar color story. These last 2 that I'm going to share are very similar to each other, slightly different than the ones that we just saw. So this one is the America's Parks palette from Nomad Cosmetics, and they sent me the new one, which is an updated formula for their 10th anniversary, but this is the old one because I don't know where I sat the new one because that's what happens. I wasn't even thinking about this one because when I thought about the earthy palettes, I thought about the Okavango one. But when I did the video on this, I went through and talked about all of the parks that this palette referenced, and I mean, all of the tones were just so earthy and beautiful. And I didn't really have an issue with these shimmers. They were okay, but their shimmer formula is better now. So probably should do a video comparing the old to the new, but y'all know how it's been lately for me. So I'm just trying to be back here and with y'all. But this one's a nice one. I swatched the blue one just because that's a different or earthy tone. I don't really think about blues, but you know, we think about earth and water and everything. Mattes are fantastic as per usual. We got the murky shades and the beautiful shimmers. This one is, let's swatch this. It's a duochrome. Let's see what it looks like. I'd be curious of how this one feels with the new formula. So yeah, so you can see we've got just some similar shades here. So I wanted to keep that. I love this plummy shade here as well. So that is America's Parks. Again, this is the older version. And then the newest palette to my collection to round out this video, this will be the 12th one, is the AGOT Temptation palette by Singe Beauty, owned by Angelica Nyquist. And look at that. Look how earthy this palette is. Now the difference between these two, the Nomad and the other ones, I think these have brighter oranges. Oh wait, I might be lying, hold on. Yeah, there's like more oranges, I would say. This one's gonna be the brightest one of the bunch. You have this volcanic shade right here, but you see there's still a murkiness to it. We have bright greens, deep greens. We have this deep brown here. We have like neon here and very beautiful shimmers. Some of them are super smooth, like this one. That is gorgeous. So you have that. That's very pretty. I love that. Okay, that. And then we have some really nice foiled ones. Let's do this green here. So I wanted to share this because when you are not aware of what's in your collection, sometimes we can repeat things because we're not thinking about what we have. And I know for me, like when I'm on Instagram and looking at things or if videos pop up, I get excited. And sometimes I will not pause and be like, ooh, let me go rummage through all of these palettes and see if I have something similar. And you know what? There have been times where I have. And I've said, ooh, this is really similar to this. And I've still gotten it anyway. But I want us to start not thinking about FOMO and start thinking about JOMO. And I know that is so corny. And when I heard it, I was like, FOMO is corny and JOMO is corny, but actually it's really not, because the joy of missing out on things, I think, is important because it's been allowing me to utilize products in my collection and almost feel like I don't even want to try anything new. I'm going to be working on that with eyeshadow palettes. Actually, I have been working on that with eyeshadow palettes this year, except for that Desert Gleam one. Like I've really been doing great with not buying eyeshadow palettes. I've only bought a few this year. I bought Desert Gleam. That's the Lisa Eldridge one. I would say I really like Lisa Eldridge. So, you know, sometimes you do have your favorites. And when you see something in a color story that you like from one of your favorite brands or like a creator that you like, sometimes we are more inclined to get things even if we don't need it. But some of these other ones, I definitely could have passed on. I am really working on the JOMO thing with blush sticks because I'm such a blush lover right now. And there have been some blush sticks that have come out and I've tried so many of them, but recently it's the Dior ones and the Charlotte Tilbury ones. And I'm really trying to refrain from buying them because I have some blush sticks that I haven't really used. And I have the Danessa Myricks blush bombs that I'm so in love with. Like I want more of those, but I'm like, what would the Dior ones add to my collection? And when I'm looking at these earthy color stories, I'm like, some of these, I'm not saying they're not adding anything, but I could definitely narrow them down. Don't ask me to do it, but I could narrow them down. Like if I'm just thinking off off top of my head, the Natasha Denona one would stay. The Croc one from Clarity would stay because the shimmers are so different. The Barely Basic would stay from Glaminatrix because that one is really different. And there was one more, wait a minute. Which one is it? I love America's Parks. That's a non-negotiable. The Cosmic Brushes, the Undergrowth. Like when I think about those, I was like 5, but they're still similar. So I don't really have a moral of the story for this video, but I do want to use, I don't want to say mistakes that I've made, but I want to use my collection and be able to reference things that I've already bought to just remind us all to just look at our collection. I mean, I think one of the things that we have to think about is, what are these shades gonna look like on the eye? Do you enjoy the experience of using the makeup? What's the point of having a color story and you don't really like the formula? You know, like some people are just not gonna like clarity. You're just not, because it's too much. The old me, man, I'd be slapping them clarity shimmers on, like so many, and then spraying them so they pop even more. The new me, I'm gonna take one of those, I'm gonna be like, do, 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 and that's it. You know what I mean? So maybe that's not the formula for me anymore. So, you know, I think about what you like when you pick out the eyeshadow palettes, and then just think about what you already have. It's so hard to not want what's new, but I am trying to get better with that. And I know all of us are on a little journey, so this one's mine. And I hope that you will feel vulnerable enough to just share what you're going through with makeup, because I know some people may feel like it's silly, but makeup is like any other hobby or any other pastime where you can collect something, you know, it's just like anything else. So I don't feel silly about it at all. I mean, sometimes I do, but I try not to feel silly about it at all. It's like Pokemon cards or anything else. And sometimes we got to be like, nope, I got that one already. I don't need this one. It's tough because the makeup streets are always so full of new launches, but we do see that nothing is truly new. There are some things, but I think those really new innovative launches are becoming few and far between, and brands are playing on the idea of FOMO and nostalgia and other things to really make us feel like we need to have things, and that's just mind games, y'all. So I'm not there. Like, I'm not on here to be like, yes, I was like this and now I'm not. I'm still like that, but I'm trying to be better. And so I do hope that I can continue to go through my eyeshadow collection and show some similar color stories, because we're going to continue to see the same things. There's only but so many colors that can be invented. You know, there's only but so many color stories we can have. We can have different formulas, different size palettes, different curations. And I think that's what we need to look at when we go for a palette, to see, is it something that we're actually going to use and benefit from. At this point, I don't want to just talk about my makeup. I want to take my makeup with me when I'm having life experiences and things like that. I don't want to just swatch it, you know. So that's where I'm at, and I do hope that you enjoy this video. Go ahead and give me some comments down below, and let's keep it going. Thank you so much for taking out some of your time and hanging out with me for another one today. I do hope this was therapy for you. You know it always is for me. And until I see you again, make sure you're being gentle with yourself. Talk to yourself nice, stay safe, and you know I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.
We could be selfless. We could be falling in love.